I'm here with second ward candidate Rich Graves. Rich is okay?
Yes, that's fine.
And we're just here to talk about his campaign and his platform. So thanks for sitting, Rich. And just to get into it, for people who don't know who you are,
Sure.
Some background and why you want to run for the second ward.
Sure. Born and raised, been in town 50, almost 51 years. And looking back, it was actually from here in Roselle to the 1880s.
Okay, really?
Mr. Next to my brother-in-law, he looked it up and my name goes back. It's interesting, but yeah.
Wow.
So married, high school classmate,
Okay.
27 years, 3 children, sophomore at Kane, senior, and 7th grader. So being born and raised, going through baseball, going through football, I didn't leave. I moved all 6 blocks in my entire life. So
And by football, did you play or coach?
played.
Okay.
Yeah, played. Yeah, so recreational football, Pop Warner, and
Okay.
then Rosenberg Youth Baseball Softball League up to high school, and then coaching league. I coached my daughter when she was born. I said I need to pick something that I keep an attachment with. So I
Right.
picked softball. So
Oh,
it
cool.
was it was me and Mr. Kennedy, John Kennedy.
Okay.
We coached together from when they were 5 to when they graduated high school. So
Wow.
it was, and I had a good run.
That's
so.
right. Was it last year? Or the year
Well, she missed them winning everything.
Okay.
So, but their junior and senior years, they were conference champions, and state sectional champions.
Right. Yeah.
So, and she had a conference championship in soccer. So, you know what? It was a good run. It was,
Okay.
and so it was a satisfying run. And plus, I coached wrestling for a few years with my senior. And
Okay.
then, a couple of years was good. Then other schools take over after that.
All right. So you've been active. You've been volunteering and
Sure, I chaired the rec committee for about 3 years.
Okay.
I was on the recreation committee. That was chaired buildings and grounds for Rosenberg Youth Baseball League with Lauren Harms for 3 or 4 years, and was involved with the girls softball tournament during the summer for
Okay.
multiple years when she was from 9, 10 to 18.
All right.
Yeah. So.
And you used to work for the DPW.
Used to work for DPW. I worked about 9 years.
Right.
Ended as assistant superintendent, and then moved back on to the gas company.
Okay. And so, why do you want to run for second ward?
It's now is an interesting time. It's being out talking to residents. Their only concern is revitalization downtown. So because of what this administration put forward already, they've got the ball rolling. Credit to everybody here right now. They've got the ball rolling where it's and with my background in Department of Public Works and with utility, I think I bring a different eye point
Okay.
of I can question different things that they wouldn't question. It's just because of what I've dealt with.
Right.
Like I know the sanitary system, and so it's just an interesting time, I think, at where Roseville Park's going to change.
Mhm.
It'll be, I think, and I'm better now. My kids are older. I'm not spending so much time coaching or anything else. That's all done. So it's going to be an interesting time for the town to see where they head, and it'll be, I think, really fun to be part of the direction it's going in.
Okay. And so let's talk about that. So you said your work experience and your life experience, you bring a different kind of viewpoint. Where do you see it? Where would you 3 years from now or 6 years from now? What would you have liked to say? Hey, wow, man, I was a part of that.
I'm glad they're finally, going forward with revitalization. It's like my sister says, "Oh, you can't. You're gonna school children." I go, "You have to move forward.
Okay.
We have to move forward. Listen, if families move in, and it is what it is, it's part of it. But Scotch Plains, Westfield, Garwood, Cranford, Elizabeth, they're not all wrong.
Right. Okay.
So what's moving forward? I want to see the project done, but I want to see it done right.
Okay.
I definitely was with the agreement with all the council that I don't want an AutoZone.
Okay.
I want it. And what they proposed so far it's going in the right direction. I see it the same way, and it's hopefully it goes in this. So I'd like to be part of that decision making. Of
Okay.
course, that decision making is from my constituents. It's not all me. It's not
Okay.
me. It's within It's not I. It's
Okay.
you're deciding it within amongst the council, obviously, and then what your constituents want.
And Roselle Park is very unique in that you actually, if you're elected, you represent an actual like group of people,
Right.
Not like everyone, like and like issues, and we'll talk about that later. Issues in the second ward might be different than issues in the fifth
Sure.
ward, right? And so how have you informed yourself? So you said you're willing to do that. How have you informed yourself on how the government works with budgets, legislation, resolutions, all that?
Through through the Rutgers training, we're having a CPWM through Rutgers.
Okay.
So I did go through the 9 parts of that class and graduated. So I have, dealing with the budget with the DBW. It was only the DBW budget. It wasn't the entire budget, obviously.
That's right.
but-
You were
Right.
actually part of the
So I
when
have,
the budget came.
I actually-
That's right.
So because I can't remember all of the parts, I wanted to show you.
All right.
You went through all this class at Rutgers, so I think for someone coming in cold, I have a little bit of a head start with 2 years at Rutgers, with dealing with budgets, with dealing with, and besides working there, I went through a year where we all got zeros.
Okay.
There was zeros across the board.
Right.
There was nobody got raises, so you dealt with
So you're seeing,
negotiations.
you're seeing with both ends.
I saw it from a union working point, and then I saw it from the manager's point
Okay.
on that side, and then sitting down with the CFO and dealing with
And
other options.
You were at budget workshop meetings where you had to present.
Yes,
Hey, this
exactly.
is.
At Zip Capital.
Oh wow, that's
So
right.
we had to go,
I
and
forgot about that.
so I had to take the DBW budget and
That's
say
right,
we
yeah.
need this, and we had to go and present that in front of the financial committee and say, this is why we need this,
Okay.
and so it's all part of.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
I
all
forgot
part of
that.
government.
That's real life
It's all
experience.
it's. It's Carol. So it's all part of the step. Have I seen the whole picture? No, obviously not.
Yeah, but you've seen an
But-
important part, right? Because you've been the one who's on the end asking
Right.
and being told no, and then you having to work with what you
Exactly,
get.
and then having to deal with whatever whatever you were handed.
Okay. And you had talked about you're going to be with your constituents. How do you plan to keep them informed?
The one question you had was that with hot topics, I'd like to. I don't know if they have. I don't think they have it now. If I have to, I'll go and get a personal email list if each constituent will give it to me,
Okay.
obviously, so I could actually, when there's hot topics, I could blast out email. Now there's going to be some elderly people who don't, so you'll
Right.
have to. I could do pamphlet drops to those, to those individuals if I need to.
Okay.
But now with modern technology, it'd be
Yeah.
easier if I could just bang email out. But I'll have to go door to door and get that, which is not a big deal. I'm going
Right.
door to door now.
So you said you go door to door. In speaking with the residents, we had spoken about this before. You said you hear from them that development. Do you agree with that, or do you think there's other things that are important to the second ward?
There's been
Let's say that you, as a resident,
Right.
what have you found to be
Right.
important for you?
there's been no complaint. It's just interesting for me.
Right.
So I'm doing it from a whole different point of view now,
Right.
right? It's because I would normally, for 9 years I got a call, I went and took care of a problem, and that was the end
That's
of it.
right. You actually did literally got calls.
Right,
Hey, I
yeah.
got this problem.
All hours
Yeah.
of the night, whatever. So
Right.
you went, you took care of the problem, that was it. So whether it's sore or whatever, but
Even some
The-
problems that weren't your fault, like I got a cat up in the
listen, I took 2 dead raccoons out of a pool over on Henry. It was what it was. You were
Right.
told to do it, you went and did
Right.
it.
Okay.
So, it is what it is.
Right. But you were saying, like,
But
as a
there's
resident.
as a resident, there's no dire complaints in the second ward. One person questioned taxes, which everybody does.
Right.
One questioned the pilot,
Okay.
which is going to be a challenge. It is
Right.
what it is. It's that's again back to school children versus building, and it's
Right.
going to be who knows. It's a
And you're
toss-up.
dealing with that as a parent also,
Sure.
and as a resident and a council person. if
Exactly.
elected.
Exactly. So most of the complaint or interest, not complaint, most of the interest falls on rebuilding.
Wow.
It's building downtown. Really, it's interesting because I would think be something else, but there's not even a complaint about the bike path, which needs to be cleaned.
Right.
I know why.
And now you're putting on your DPW hat, like, hey, man,
Right.
this needs to be.
Right. Well, I know when somebody's, and I can see when something's cut and not cut, and I go, that should be done, or whatever. But I know what is and what shouldn't be, and I find out because the side cutter wasn't repaired and whatever.
Okay.
But no questions about that.
Right.
Everything is, what do we do about downtown?
Wow. That's interesting because I think out of all the wards, this one has the most homes.
Right.
I think there's only like one business.
Right.
The
That's
Chilean bakery, right?
Yeah.
I think.
and
Everything else is
exactly.
no
It's
apartments
all-
that I know of, right?
No apartments. You know,
Homes.
several multifamilies. But
Right.
that's what's nice about this is that you have. It's still it's a quaint neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. And there's no bustling business per se.
Right. It's right because this is, I guess, I feel like this ward is that picturesque Roselle Park,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, because Jamie's, you got Westfield Avenue.
Yeah. Third
Yeah,
is the
only
center.
maybe Third Ward.
No, Third Ward's
is-
got the set
Oh.
Chestnut, right? All of Chestnut.
That's right.
Right.
This is it's
Yeah,
it's
this
really
is
and
it.
that's and I heard that from a few people out. I go, listen, this is like it's still hometown Roselle
Yeah.
Park, but at the same token, a guy on a Walnut, he goes, you know what? Like I'm happy the Ryan property is going to happen too. It should happen years ago, right?
Right.
But so his thing was, I walk from Walnut to the train station. He goes, I want to come off the train station, come out, have a piece of pizza, have a glass of wine, and walk home.
Yeah, right.
So
So
that's their concern.
That's how it connects, right? Because
Yeah.
even though he's going to come home to a nice home, he's got to
Right.
walk through that and maybe just hang
Exactly.
out. All right, all right.
The bike path. It's just with transit. Kara, can you eat that, please? It's Drew. That's all. This will tie into the transit village.
Okay. Yes. Okay. And then, so let's go to some things of the past. So in the past few years, we've had some kind of newsworthy events, and although you weren't on council, but you're a resident,
Right.
there were things that I guess made people take sides, right, and very pivotal, like the kneeling soldier, the Christmas tree, the removal of the first aid
Mhm.
as a first responder. We're having new employees, new borough clerk, new construction officer, lack of yet a superintendent for the DPW, but even backyard chickens, right? How professional contracts are awarded, and the townwide revow. Can you touch about like maybe what you from what that is, what was important to you, and how you feel it was handled, and how you would have handled it?
Sure. Let's go. First star. Hold on.
Okay.
Hold on.
It's okay.
The soldier and the Christmas tree. Let's use those for example.
Okay.
If elect, you.
I'm just saying.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
it's personally. So it's
Personally, and like
Right.
the responsibilities.
you can't put your personal thoughts and your personal feelings into what happens in here. If all my constituents came to me and said, "Listen, I don't want a Christmas tree," then that's the way it is. So,
Okay.
it got to be a personal, not good or bad or indifferent.
Right.
I said it's not the place to put your personal opinions,
Okay.
your faith. It's not. You're elected to. Well, my personal feeling didn't bother me.
Okay. Right. And there were some people
Right,
who did
you
say
know,
that. They said,
Right. But listen, if there was a Jewish, okay, it doesn't bother me. Personally, the tree didn't bother me.
okay.
Kneeling soldier didn't bother me. I'm Methodist. It's not, those two didn't bother me.
Right.
It just seemed like it got personal,
Right.
and it shouldn't have got
Okay.
personal. Keep business,
So you think you should have just stayed on with
keep
course
business
of-
business,
Okay.
and it was done right. At the end, because it became an issue, they voted, and it was voted down. That was it.
Okay.
Okay, maybe bring it forward first, and then vote on it, and okay,
And that would have
That's
been
why-
the professional way to do it, right?
that's a
I think
democratic
okay,
society.
Gotcha.
That's so.
Okay.
Whatever the situation is, the menorah doesn't bother me on a gazebo.
Right.
There's different faiths.
Okay.
I don't,
Alright.
I want to touch a few other things here.
The first aid.
First aid squad's a touchy subject with everybody, but listen, you'll know if I remember correctly. I think this went back to Mark Haswell. This goes back to a different administration when,
Okay.
when there was issues. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this goes back to when Caswell was on council. There was issues 5, 6
There had been
years
growing
ago that
issues,
were
yeah.
supposed to be corrected, and it wasn't. So for me, which we used them twice.
Okay.
My uncle passed away on Hemlock. We had it for our father-in-law. There in a minute.
Okay.
So if the way I look at it, it doesn't hurt me financially at all.
Right.
So it's just not a burden to my tax dollar. I have response in minutes, and if I compare it to the police or fire, if the police showed up half the time, that'd be a problem. If the
Okay.
fire department was ready at the time, it'd be a problem.
Gotcha.
So to me personally, again, I was okay with it. Is it a shame for people who spend time and with volunteers? Yeah, but it's still there.
Right.
You can bring it back if you could maintain. I looked at it through personal. My mother was the president of Westfield
Okay.
a long time ago, so she was. You had shifts. She worked Thursdays, 7 at night, 7 in the morning. And there was 2 crews on, 7 at night, 7. So if that's how, and their Westfield Volunteer Rescue Squad is still in business, run the same way, so something went wrong.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right.
So
there are other volunteer organizations that are still around, like other first aid.
yeah, Westfield First Aid Rescue. Yeah, it's just, so something went wrong
Okay.
that we had to take responsibility. It was a liability
Okay.
to me. So I mean, like I said, because I put air on, Karen. But it, especially not being a burden financially on any taxpayer, what's the difference?
Do you think-
get better response?
Do you think if they came back with something, you would be open to listening to that?
Sure.
Okay.
Listen,
Volunteer day.
exactly. Listen, if the fire department's volunteer, of course. If you,
Okay.
yeah,
Alright.
absolutely. It's the
Alright.
same. You know, it's. I don't want to. It's 75 people, I think, were on a roll on. Was it 75 people, roughly, or whatever the number
Right.
was? Of course. It's,
Okay. All right.
As long as you can maintain.
That response
Right.
time and everything. Okay. All right. So we had a couple new employees, a new borough clerk, a new construction officer. We're in the process
Yeah.
of getting at some point
Superintendent,
superintendent for the DPW.
Take your time, make
Yeah.
the right choice. Really.
Okay.
Yeah, make the right choice.
And that would be something. So if you're elected, you have that background, right? You'd be like,
right.
Okay.
I'd volunteer to be a liaison for that.
Okay.
Because, listen, I dealt with it. You know, she could tell you phone next to the bed, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I lived and breathed. That was the job. So
Okay.
I have an idea how things should be done.
Okay.
Not everything, obviously,
Right.
but I have a good basis of what should and shouldn't be done. So it's, for me, it would be a perfect fit, liaison wise.
Okay. Right. Because
You
you
know,
have
and
that
possibly
experience.
recreation too, because I had that my recreation years too,
All right.
and I would want to see that grow. But that's got to be touchy because you got to see what'll happen because kids, the numbers are down, so it's hard to.
Yeah.
They want to push more rec. I kind of diversified, sorry, but they want to push more rec programs. But I'd rather see what would it be accepted first before you go.
I see what you're
numbers,
saying.
the numbers
Right.
are down horribly.
So someone's got to you got to review to say, hey, let's
Right,
start.
I would
let's see what's going on.
put that on the chair. Say, listen, put flyers out to school. See, offer this. What kind of response you get? Because baseball was down to almost in the boys leagues. The boys teams were terrible. Football was football numbers are bad. So it's. You don't want to put all kinds of effort into starting something and then it not to happen. But
Okay. All right.
by diversified, sorry.
That's all right.
Andrew,
Yeah.
you know what, Andrew?
Okay.
I think Andrew's experience, besides on council, besides on what he did as not that. Well, I forget what his title was, but wherever he was he in Bayonne?
He was in Bayonne, yeah.
Bayonne, right? Whatever his title was, his experience.
And he was a resident, right? So
Right.
he grew up
His experience. Besides being an intelligent, fair young man, I think it's a good fit.
Okay.
You know, I'm not a bad thing to say about it. He's really and fair. I call him Switzerland. You know, he's just a fair.
He handles it professionally, I guess.
Exactly.
Going back to what you said, where you handle
it's-
professionally.
Exactly, and there's no. I think he's a good fit.
Oh.
I really do.
The construction office and the officer.
I don't know him personally very well, but being Carol had worked there for a while and knowing the issues that residents had to try to get things done, I think it needs, especially moving forward with where we want to move,
Developments, right.
right? With developing, with having this moving forward, you need somebody to constantly be able to answer to residents, even the summer hours. You know, going on a Friday. I'm glad that stopped too because how can you go in there on a Friday when it
Right.
right?
You've got,
Yeah.
most people do their work on weekends.
Right, but I think it's a good thing too. It's
Okay.
You have to be able to be accessible for the resident for whatever the situation, but with moving forward, it's going to be even more necessary.
All right. And then we backyard chickens. Although you haven't experienced it, at some point with all these residences, you're going to have someone saying, "Hey, councilman, I want chicken."
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I guess if you I put it as the opening Pandora's box, opening like a can of worms per se.
Okay.
If then what's next? Then what's next? So I guess you'd have to. Listen, I love animals, but where do you stop?
Okay.
You know, if you and then noise issue, right? So we have an issue with a dog, which every day 5 o'clock.
Wow.
So now, you go out there and you're gonna. So it's. I think it's just
Okay. Do you think if people in your ward came to you and gave you like information to educate you and said, "Hey, come visit here or come see here"?
Of course.
Okay, so you're always open
Oh
to.
yeah.
Okay.
Listen, you could have a different animal that is not no noise, no smell, no issues.
Okay.
But again, that might open a can of
right.
worms because
So you kind of always have to
allowed
see,
this.
right?
You allowed a 10-foot boa constrictor, but now you know.
So you're saying you're looking more at the big picture as opposed to an instance,
Right, but of course I'd be able
Okay.
to listen to anything.
All right.
It's, but you'd have to obviously weigh the bigger picture of where that,
Where that's
what
going
hap-
to
yeah,
lead.
where
Okay.
it would lead to.
All right. How award contracts are awarded, because now they're done through, I guess, interviews through council, and this is for like the attorneys, the engineers, all that stuff.
I agree with that because I think it prevents the pay for play. I think it's a good thing. It's doesn't prevent it, but I think it helps wean out just pay for play favors
All right.
in general. I think it's a good thing.
I guess because there's more people involved in the process.
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, you're just not. No offense to anybody, you're just not appointing boom, 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 boom because of whatever, and it's everybody gets a little part in it. And listen, those all could have been great,
Okay.
but everybody has to say, "You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right." That's
Okay.
a democracy.
All right. And the townwide reval.
I think it needs to be done too. I mean, listen. My taxes went down.
Did they? Wow.
Mine went down $400.
That's
It
not
wasn't.
bad.
It wasn't a lot, but
It's not bad.
mine went down. So everybody was afraid of, oh my God, this. Oh my. Now the people, my sister didn't let him in. She got whacked.
They should let him in.
She had to go and like fight it, but her
Right.
boyfriend didn't let him in, and it was not. Listen, let him in. It is
But
what
look
it
at
is.
me. You got 400, right?
I saved money.
Look at that.
She went up thousands because
Right, because she wouldn't let him in because they're like, oh, you know what? We'll just charge you at the biggest rate.
Yeah.
Now we have your attention.
Right.
Well, that's
Listen,
pretty.
I looked at it where they're going to take these and go and they're doing this.
Right, they're kind of adjusting, and you're on a major road, right? So so that impacts stuff, and even though you're in a nice neighborhood, you're literally on the border of another town.
Right. I border 2 towns, Union
Yeah,
Elizabeth.
that's right. Right
Yeah.
down the corner.
Union Elizabeth. So there's benefits of being on a county road. The plows come continuously. You're always able to get out.
Wow.
But you don't get, you don't get our plow service. You don't get our tree pruning service. So you don't get some of the same services that we get from
Right.
a side street, fiduciary street
Right.
resident. But
Okay.
it's all good.
All right. So last year had the lowest, and again, Texas is broken up into the town, the
Yep.
school, and the county. But last year had the lowest increase, about $48, $50 from the last year. But the year before it was pretty high, 121. And being, you were on that end, do you understand? Like, can you understand how
From
such
what-
a thing and what would
Right,
you do
from
again?
what- I guess it was Ken's
keep
estimate
it?
with the revaluation. I think from why the further one was a little hot.
Well,
a
the
little above.
121 was partially due because there were a lot of retirements.
Oh, okay.
Right, so there were like a lot of,
Okay, so a lot of so and year end package, right? You got Aldo leaving it. Yeah, right. Okay.
and as a councilman, if elected, what do you plan to do to improve those services or make
Stable
this,
lot. Yeah, right.
while
Improve.
keeping taxes stable?
Yeah, keep. Listen, I'm a taxpayer like everybody else. I like to see. I'm a realist, realizing that, like the board ed, for instance, they got you got 2 people who got 4% raises that are making almost $400,000. So that's probably $2 in your pocket, $2
Right.
alone, right? So You can't fool with that. You can't fool with the county. It's only us. But still, with us, you still get 2% from the PD,
Right.
DBW, crossing guards. It's clerical. So it's nice to keep that cap and
Okay.
to come under the cap. Obviously, I mean, now I also understand why they do bank some money with the cap. Like I know stuff that's going to happen. There's going to be a sewer issue
Oh, right.
on Galloping Hill, and most people don't know about that.
Yeah.
Like I spoke about it
It's
at a
millions
meet
of
and greet
dollars.
for Will, and it's. So I'm not against. Of course you want to keep it under, but at the same token, if you can keep it at 1.1, but go to 2 and start banking that, because that's going to be. I'd rather bank that, and then when it happens, you're not hammered, because that's going to be a
See,
project.
but that's that. See, so you have insight to that, right? And you're
Yeah.
right. Most people don't, but it's
No,
millions
and
of dollars,
I went
and it's
to
bad.
Yeah, I went to a meeting with Tom Safaro
Mhm.
in Elizabeth. This is going back a few years. So we went to discuss the cross contamination of stuff in the sanitary. So Elizabeth is it's commingled. So you have storm and sanitary. So we went to discuss. Listen, we found gallon milk bottles, and there's no way it should be in there, but it's because they're commingled.
And they come.
So we sat down. They go, and before we even spoke, they said, "Well, your storm is coming through here." We just stood there with our mouths agape. It was just okay. So we didn't even talk about what we came to come for. But so this is
Wow.
what is this? 5 years ago? 4 or 5 years
It's been
ago?
it's been around
Right.
for a
So
while. Yeah.
so it's going to be a huge project that I don't want anybody. I don't want any taxpayer to burden a multi-million-dollar project, because so if you save a little bit with each, and you saving toward that the D-Day of when this has to happen, this is going to happen.
And you have that. I mean, you're like I have to repeat it. You're absolutely right. It's a huge elephant that everyone's keeping quiet about, but
Right.
it's coming.
It's coming.
And
It's coming.
You're seeing that.
And whoever it is this time around, maybe whatever it's going to be, they'll get the burden and they'll be the bad guy. But
Right.
it's
but you have to
it's
say,
nobody's
hey,
fault.
it's not.
It's
This
been-
didn't just show up
no,
today.
Listen, this has been here.
Huh.
Nobody's fault. It's just the way the system runs. It runs into their commingled system, and they'll start charging us. They'll put a meter in or do whatever they do to start charging us, because
And
we're
then-
running through their system, storm-wise. So their storms run into their mix system. It's going down to under the Goethals Bridge and getting
Wow.
treated. So it's because I'm aware of it.
So that's an insight, right? Because what you're saying is, hey, folks, for the budget, I'd rather us save a little here.
Right. I'd rather listen.
Okay.
Of course, I'd rather.
Let it all
Listen,
go to go. Hey,
It's fantastic.
right,
How could you? They did a great job.
right.
And kudos to all mayor and council. It was fantastic. And I don't know what the number was. I don't know if it was one. I'm not sure what the number was.
Mhm.
But if you still have to hit that 2% and still
Right.
have a $65 increase, it's only.
I see what you're saying. So if you were to say, hey, let's make it $55 and make that $7 a person, just put it away, put it away, put it away.
Right, just because
It's coming.
that's coming, and it's gonna,
Absolutely
and
it's coming.
and it's not going to be pretty.
Wow, that's important, because what you're saying is, I'd love to have that every year, but
Right.
one day if you think 121 is bad, if that all comes
Right.
at once, that 121 is going to be
We're
you're
all
going to
gonna
wish
be,
to have.
We're all going to beat up a little bit,
Yeah.
and I don't know the numbers. I don't know how
But
big.
it's
but
big.
Knowing that where that water has to go, knowing how it works, I know I got a 4-foot main here.
Right.
It's not coming up here. It's got to go over to Roselle somewhere. So you got
Yeah.
to come down Grant, and you have to get into Roselle somewhere. I don't even know where to go with it.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
Wow.
project
Yeah.
that it's so it's better to be a little prepared,
Okay.
so you're not destroyed. So you're not hammered.
And
when
do you
it
keep
happens.
things like that in? So if elected, do you plan to keep things that in the back of your mind whenever something's brought up? It's like, that's a great idea, but hey guys, we got this.
You have to keep. Now that's the only thing I know of that
Right.
is the elephant waiting in the. But yeah, I mean that's a big thing. If you know you have something that's going to happen, that's going to be astronomical to your normal daily routine.
Yeah.
That
And it's structural. It's not something where it's like, oh, we
No.
can. It's an actual thing you have to address.
you have to address
Yeah.
it, because if you don't address it, we're told if it's not addressed,
You can start,
you're going to start being charged
and that's going to
for
come out
water coming.
forever.
They were talking like $100,000, whatever the numbers were. It was ridiculous.
It's a lot.
It's that
scary.
anything you're charged, that money's more well spent in just repairing it because they're gonna, it's just gonna happen.
Okay. All right. So we talked about some committees you'd like to be appointed to. You said
Recreation. I dealt with recreation. Like I said, I was the chair for maybe 3 years and on it a year or so before that. So because I think everybody's pushing rec now to get the kids more involved because everybody stares at their phone. So it's a shame,
right.
and,
Yeah.
and we're all guilty of it. But
But you said to
with
kind
that
of do
insight,
it.
that insight, knowing that the numbers are down generally, except for soccer and girls softball, I'm great to propose anything.
Okay.
Propose anything out there, volleyball, blah blah. But to have like the chair put a drop-in flyer to all the schools and see what kind of response you get before you put all kinds of time into we're doing this, and this.
So you're like into doing research kind of things,
right.
Like, hey,
it's a flyer. Drop it. In the school system, and at least you.
Because those are the people who are most likely going to want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I got 500 kids who want to play volleyball.
There you go.
Volleyball. So it's just, I think it would just save time.
All right.
It's
what
just,
Right. What about public service? Do you think you'd want to be on that one? I like whichever the DPW is.
Yeah. I think with my past experience, I think it would be a benefit for everybody for me to be able to be the liaison to that because it's just.
You still do it.
But yeah,
right.
And I still do every day. I do the utility end of it
Right.
every day, different utility on the gas end. But I still understand all the aspects of that.
What goes into repairing something? What goes into
That's
keeping something?
Exactly.
All right.
I've had a customer service from repairs of house products to. I call customer service when I worked for DPW. Your customer, your resident.
Right.
You're still a customer. They call whatever the situation was,
Right.
tree, sewer,
Okay.
dead animal, whatever. It's all customer service.
All right. And you're running as a Republican, but
Yes.
If elected, you're going to be representing everyone in your ward.
That's correct.
How can you assure residents that if you personally disagree with something, other members in council who either on the same party or even different party, or even you personally are friends with someone, right? How can you assure residents that when you make a decision, when Rich Graves make a decision as a council person, it will be on what Rich Graves believes, not, hey man, we're all voting, you vote.
Right. My decision
Mm-hmm.
is based on what my constituents want.
Okay.
There's nobody's telling me what to do.
Okay.
It's just I'm gonna listen. You come in, you're new. You're gonna take advice from Ken, from Richie, from Tom, from the dais. You're taking advice.
Okay. So you're open to that.
Of course.
Okay.
Listen, you're new to it. So because I have experience with DPW, but it doesn't mean I have experience with the whole financial, all the police department, I don't have that experience. But you take all of their information and then you take what your constituents want. Like Jamie kind of summed it up pretty well, I think, when he talked about what was going on with the Sullivan property. I spoke to my people, and this is what my people want.
Okay. So you always keep them in the back of your mind, or in the forefront of your mind.
Always. You're elected by them.
Okay.
You're not elected by the people on the dais.
All right.
You're elected by your constituents, so that's who you are there for.
Okay.
No matter what the situation is, it's if I had 500 people come to me and say this is no good, I'm gonna discuss this is no good. 500 people say there's something wrong then.
Okay. Now suppose there's something that you feel is important that you just get no feedback from the people. Like I'll give you a prime example. So like there's sometimes like the chicken that caused a big upswing, right? But then we had the development and nobody shows up to a meeting, right? So like you're kind of pulling teeth.
Yeah.
And for something like for you, like that, you will be called the Cassandra because you're like, folks, this is really, really, and everyone's like, oh, whatever. And you're like, no, folks, I'm telling you, this is like an iceberg.
It's gonna happen, right? Yeah.
And you get no feedback. And suppose people on who are on council like, hey man, let's just keep it, just shh. It's election time. Do you feel like responsibility where like these people need to know this whether they like it or not?
Of course,
Okay.
it's full disclosure. I'm transparency is
right.
there's no reason why they shouldn't know. Now, when I was at a meet and greet, they couldn't speak about it because it was,
Right.
but I had but because so I'm at this and they go, but you can.
Right. Yeah.
So I was able to
Okay.
vocal. You know, we had a Garwood representative there too, and it was the public needs to understand that. Listen, if you take a little bit now, a little bit now, a little bit now, later it won't
It's
be
not
so
gonna hit
bad.
you as bad.
No, and it has been quiet, and it's not a bad thing. It's just that it's the elephant in the room
Yeah.
that's gonna you know
Right.
it's terrible head's gonna poke out. So
All right, so as a resident and also as a candidate, what do you personally find or most positive about your ward, and what do you think beyond all these big picture things? What do you think needs improvement in your ward?
it's funny because like we discussed before, it's just quaint, like hometown feel here. So there's really the biggest thing is the park here.
Because you have Acker, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got Acker. So Acker, I think, is a focal point. The apparatus has to be fixed, and I understand how long it takes things to get fixed because I dealt with it.
That's right.
You know, so
Yeah.
the bridge had to come out in both parks because of an issue, and I get it. So people don't see that; they just see it and they go, well, "Fix it." It's not that easy, unfortunately. Everything works.
And do you think you can convey that
certain
to
pace.
residents and say, "Hey, I'm
Oh,
letting
sure.
you know
I think
firsthand"?
Right, because I had to deal with it personally. I even had we kept losing the spring toys, right?
Okay.
So they break and so I was in the park and there's a kid. I said, can you get off the spring toy? That was $5,000 to repair. I said, can we not do that? You're 180 pounds. That's made for a 40-pound kid. So, but on another note, yeah, I can. Because I know what it takes to get things done besides going out to bid and blah 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 blah.
And on the other hand, if something's taking too long, you're like, "Hey, man, I
Yeah.
know this doesn't take this long."
No, there's right. That's because of sore issues. There's things that should happen quicker. You should have answers quicker. You shouldn't have to pay for answers when it's so. I think I can convey at least in that perspective. Now the other thing, like the bike path, is a good and bad thing right now. It's
Okay.
a bad thing because of the maintenance, but the maintenance was because of a broken piece of equipment. So that's
And most people didn't know about that. All they
Right.
heard is like, "You
Right.
guys haven't done anything."
right. All you hear is negative, negative, negative. It's not ain't clean, ain't clean, ain't clean. Listen, I knew the side cutter. The side cutter, unfortunately, was an inferior product from the day one. There was trouble with it from day one. Nobody's fault there. It's just when Vince Cahill, he just chose that side cutter. It happened to be not a good side cutter. It just happened to be just an
Do you-
inferior product. So
Do you think you'll take steps to do more research to say, like you said, it's like, let me call another town who's got a, hey,
yeah,
how's it going?
You call the whole county. County has tons of side cutters.
Okay.
It's just you call.
So you're willing to work with county even?
Of
right?
course.
Okay.
Yeah, it's great machine, but the side cutter was inferior. So it's just that was the problem. I know the guy who cuts all. I speak to him, and you can't cut it without the proper equipment. So I know that purchase order was cut. I think so. That's getting repaired, but that's why it was lack of maintenance. So nobody's fault specifically. It's just that it's
It's not like they're lazy and shiftless and just
No.
hanging out
Right, and then-
at some
and then-
7-Eleven or
and then to waste two guys on there with weed whackers on whatever that distance is kind of ridiculous too. So it's when you could side cut it down in a day and you're finished. So
So that's the negative. So you said there's a negative and positive for the
the
that
bike path.
path.
Listen, the bike I call it the bike
Right.
path. Right? The bike path for Transit Village, I think, is going to be huge. It's that path to get your Galloping Hill residents, this end residents, right down to the train station and right. So I think
Yeah, because if not, you'd have to take Lehigh,
you'd have to come down,
all the way
come
around,
down
go
Lehigh
down
or-
Lincoln, and or
yeah.
go all the way up to Prospect and
right,
walk up.
or down Prospect.
Yeah, you're right, it's a straight
down
line.
Prospect, Colfax. To
So you see
whatever.
the potential in
exactly
that.
right. Yeah. So it's maybe even get it late.
Okay.
That's an issue. You walk in there, it's
Yeah, at night it's not.
dark. Yeah. So I mean that could even be a project. Maybe that could be incorporated with Transit Village. I don't know. I'm not sure, but that's always an issue. I used to walk at night and
Again, that's right. Unless you walk it like you do, you
Right.
don't think about
walk
that.
at
Or you
night.
walk it at night,
It's dark.
right? Yeah.
You just and safety is you know.
And if you're going to use it
concern.
as a transit village, you want it to
Right.
be.
You want to be able to be
accessible.
comfortably come off the train,
See lights
have
all
a
the way
bite to
down,
eat,
go.
right? Have a bite to eat,
Walk home.
walk down your path, cut off up Walnut, or come back around, and be comfortable walking that way. So I think that should be incorporated in that Transit Village project
All right.
for lighting, at least, you know. And
That's
of course,
a-
we got to clean
Again,
it.
that's a viewpoint that unless you walk it
Right.
or live here, you're not going to see it. But it's
Right.
important to the whole town,
Oh yeah.
right? All right. Well, thank you very much, Rich. I appreciate it. And in closing, is there anything you'd like to say to the residents or people listening?
Just consider me. I think the experience that I bring with Department of Public Works, with
We'll have to cut this out. My apologies.
no, it's all right.
Okay. One more time. My apologies.
all right.
I'll ask the
No
question again.
problem.
So, is
I
there
think-
anything in closing?
Yeah, I think with the experience, my DBW experience, my utility experience, recreation, I think I bring a different set of eyes that I think will help with us moving forward with how we're going to build moving forward. People have been here 50 years. People know my work ethic.
Okay.
I'm a task person that when I get things done. So it's I think it'd be a good thing. So
All right. Rich, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No
Thanks for your
problem.
time.